Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael.
And I'm Molly.
We are here today to end one show and begin another. We are talking Love Island, the final week, which includes the finale that just dropped. And we are starting this brand new season of Big Brother. We did a little cast preview last episode and draft. Now we are two episodes in, and we have a lot to talk about. Feeds have not dropped yet, I want to say, as we are recording this. As you are listening to it, they have been up for most likely a few hours. But as we are recording this, we have not seen anything from the feeds yet, so we are just talking episodes 1 and 2. And Molly, you watched episode 1 at the Dallas premiere party with some Big Brother cast. So tell us a little bit about that. How was that?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I went into Dallas for the weekend, which was great. And it was really exciting to get to meet Brooklyn, Kat, Angela, and obviously Quinn was there too, which was nice to see him again. And some other people like Matt from previous seasons and Cliff also was there. So there was a good turnout of the Big Brother people, and also Maria from Survivor. So it was also good to see her. But overall, it was really fun because we were in the movie theater watching the premiere on the big IMAX screen, which
Mm.
was fun. To have a big screen Big Brother premiere, and it was great just to chat with the previous house guests and hear their opinions on this season so far and their favorites or people that they're rooting for. So it was just a fun time overall.
Oh, that's nice. Did they do anything like after the episode where they talked about it at all, or during commercial breaks, or anything like that at the RJP event?
Yeah, in the commercial breaks, they actually talked to each of the house guests
Okay,
so
that's
they
cool.
could like tease whatever that they
Yeah.
had going on or some tea about their seasons or whatever. So we got some snippets of that throughout the while the premiere was happening in the commercial break. And then right afterwards, there was actually a little mini trivia thing because Quinn had bricks to give away.
Oh, yes, I saw
Um,
that.
and so they asked a few questions on that and gave those away. I didn't win one, but it was fun, and I got pictures with everyone too, so that was great. And so hopefully we'll get to see more premieres or more episodes with the Dallas crew. They're saying that they were going to host some more parties and other maybe for Amazing Race as well because Kat is going to be on next season of Amazing Race. So if you're in the Dallas area, definitely take advantage of these events because they're a lot of fun.
That sounds very fun. I had so much FOMO when I saw all your pictures, and I hope that, yeah, if they do one later on in the season for maybe like a double eviction episode or finale or Amazing Race premiere, like you said, hopefully I will make a special effort to try to make it because it sounds very fun. But let's get into, before we get into the big brother of it all, let's wrap up this Love Island season 7, a very talked about, somewhat controversial season that we've been watching for the past 6 weeks, but we are here to wrap it all up. So some of this feels like a month ago at this point, but somehow this all happened within the past week since we last talked about it. But we start with Sierra's removal from the villa. This happened in the first episode, right after we recorded the last episode. I know we had talked about last time whether we thought they were going to remove her or not. We got our answer. She was removed. And Molly, do you think, first of all, that producers did the right thing by sending her home?
Yes, for sure. I think that it was definitely the right move to. Obviously, they had removed Yulissa very early on in the season. It just wouldn't have sit right for anyone if they chose not to remove Sierra, even at this point. Like, obviously, it was close to the end, but having that online, like, obviously, any kind of racial slurs is not acceptable. So I think that it was good of them, and obviously, like, we know now didn't really change to I mean, it changed stuff going on in the villa for the better, but in the moment it was like, "Oh wow, like what's going to happen because Nick and Sierra were such a strong couple." But then that changed. And so that also was interesting to see the aftermath of that happened in the villa. And I support Nick not leaving with her because yes, they were closed off, but I feel like it wasn't like that long that they had been together, and Nick obviously still wanted to be part of the show. So I think it made sense that he did stay back.
Yeah, I agree on both fronts. I think that absolutely it was the right thing for producers to send her home. I there was a fear that I had at least that I think others shared that they were just going to kind of in the Survivor world we call it purple them, like basically edit them out completely, but them still being physically present and they're just not a factor on the show at all. I thought that maybe they would do that because it was the last week and they would only have to do it for what, like 5 episodes. So I thought maybe they'll just kind of do that and show her as little as possible. But I'm really, really glad that they sent her home. Even, in Sierra's video that she posted when she got back home, she said that she thinks they did the right thing by doing that. So I don't think there's any question about that, really. In terms of Nick leaving with her, I've seen a lot of people say that they think that he should have done that just because it's the, like romantic gesture thing, the romantic thing to do. But if I'm Nick in this situation, I'm assuming that they did not tell them what happened with Sierra. And so Nick is probably expecting the worst. And so in his mind, he's probably like, well, why would I leave with someone who potentially did something horrible in the outside world that would cause her to be expelled this late in the game? And like, then he's gonna go and be in the knight in shining armor and then find out what she did and then break up with her immediately. Like, that would seem really silly. So I support him staying. And obviously, he had a connection with Alandria, who, and even before they talked, maybe in his mind, he's thinking, well, I have this other option that I can potentially explore. Like, we've tried it before and it didn't work out, but like, now that we're both not distracted with other people, maybe things can be different. And obviously, spoiler alert, but they seem to be. So I fully support him staying, and it seems to have worked out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well, then, as I just mentioned, Nick and Alandria do talk, and they decide to rekindle things. Obviously, back when they first had their forced coupling by the show because they were both dumped from their respective villas at the time. Uh, at that time, Taylor was still in the villa. Sierra was still there. They were both trying to see if potentially there could be something, but they both really had their other options that they had been building up more strongly for throughout the weeks before that. And so they were very distracted. It felt like it made sense to me that it didn't actually work out at the time. But now Taylor's gone, Sierra's gone. They have nobody else to focus on except each other. And so I do think that from the very beginning, to me, it felt different. I didn't think that it would necessarily result in them being an exclusive couple that were going to, like, date immediately on the outside world, but I thought they have a better shot at potentially like really fully exploring this and seeing if there really is something there or not. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I felt like they both kind of knew that already too, that they could maybe explore something, but then because of their previous connections, like it just wasn't really the time to do that. So now that the opportunity presented itself again here, I think that really just made it more so like, okay, let's try this out again. And this time we can go in it with a different perspective because then they don't have anyone else who's interfering with that in their minds. And I think that they obviously have really good chemistry. They were also like best friends, is what they say. I mean, they best friends for 5 weeks, but they are best friends.
But we
And
saw that. Like, I think we
yeah,
did see that
no,
they had a really
they are.
good like connection even when it wasn't romantic at all.
Yeah. No, I did see them bonding a lot, so I liked them together, and I was excited to see Nicolandria in it again, full force. So it was great.
Nicolandria Hive, rise up. We are being fed. And it just every time we think it's over, they prove us wrong, and we love that for them. But moving over to Amaya Papaya, she has talks with Brian, Zach, and Elan. So now at this point, everyone has just found out that Amaya is the fan favorite because she's winning all these polls that they had in the challenge just the night before. So all of a sudden, she goes from having no connections in the villa and us being worried every single time there's a recoupling that she's going to go home. And she goes from that to all of a sudden having three guys fighting for
Mhm.
her, basically. So at the time when it was these three before this recoupling, who did you expect her to pick? Who did you want her to pick? What were your thoughts?
I knew it was gonna be Brian. I felt like they also like they already established something together, and the other two with Zach and Ilan, I didn't see anything really stemming. I mean, obviously Amaya was a couple with Zach, and then they had a whole fighting stuff like that too. So it really didn't make any sense when Zach was coming back. But for Ilan, I feel like he was just trying to stay in the villa and trying to see if he could couple up with Amaya, but the strongest connection was definitely between Amaya and Brian. This feels like also like a century ago. Like thinking
Right,
about
doesn't it? Oh my god, it's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah. But I thought that made the most sense. Obviously, like he also stood up for her when everyone else was bringing her down in the Stand on Business challenge. So I'm team Amaya and Brian.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, and I was worried a tiny, tiny little bit that she was going to fall for Zach again, just because like they did have that history of being coupled up previously, and I was just like, I really hope that she does. Like, I didn't think she would. Like, I really didn't think so. But there was just a teeny tiny part of me that when Zach kind of came running back to her after knowing that she was loved by America, it was just like, oh, please don't fall for it. Please don't fall for it. And she didn't. And I was proud of her. So happy that she didn't. And she picked Brian, who was clearly the only one who was defending her during the Stand on Business Challenge and really showing an actual interest in her before he knew what America thought of her. And that shows that it was genuine from the start and not just trying to clout chase.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then we do get the recoupling, the first of the season, where the girls are fully in control. We had that one weird one with the doors where the girls kind of had power, but the guys also had some power more so in that too. So this was the first like normal recoupling we had had in ages this season. So unsurprisingly, for the most part, Shelly picks Ace, Clark picks Taylor, Hedda picks Chris, Iris picks Pepe, Alandria picks Nick, and Amaya does pick Brian. So then Elan and Zach are left single and are sent home. So not too many, not really any surprises there.
No, that was expected.
Yeah. Well, then we get the baby episode, which I was really hoping we had avoided this season. This is more common in the UK. I understand. I have not seen a full season of UK Love Island, to be frank, but my understanding is that this is a very common thing there. We have seen it in the US before, but they didn't do it last season, so I thought, oh, maybe they're past this. Like, maybe US Love Island is past the baby era, but unfortunately, although it was cute, there were parts of it that were cute. I just think it doesn't need to be like a full episode.
Yeah, it definitely felt very dragged on from when I was watching. I hadn't seen any Love Island UK seasons before, so I didn't know entirely what this baby challenge was. I didn't even realize it was a challenge either. I'm like, oh, like they have to pass this? Like, what's a pass? But now I understand why it's a pass fail situation because there were some parents in this that didn't take care of their baby or babies very well. But it was definitely interesting, I'll say that.
Yeah, I just think because at the end of this episode, someone gets to go to the hideaway, and I really think that it should just be whoever wins best parent. Like, at least have them like compete for something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
didn't really understand the purpose.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's like a challenge or they're being graded because it doesn't win, they don't win anything. But Taylor and Clark win for best parents, so congrats to them. Iris and Pepe, Huda and Chris, and Nick and Alandria also passed. I don't understand how Iris and Pepe passed this. They put their babies on the edge of the counter while they're cooking. Like they could have rolled off at any moment.
Yeah, that was not good to see that.
How did they pass? But
No.
anyways, Ace and Shelley and Ryan and Amaya failed, so whatever
Yeah.
that means. Uh,
Their
but
babies
there
were
were,
crying too much.
yeah, I mean, there were a couple of cute moments, like Nick and Andrea misgendering their baby and having to come up with a different name was a funny moment, and like Nick taking the baby to work out with him. There were, it led to a couple of cute moments, but yeah, not too much to report on from that, other than Hutta and Chris, because this was really to me like this kind of the very start of what ends up being a long journey roller coaster for the two of them. Because Huda has some issues with the way that Chris was handling their fake child. The boys were like racing with the babies, and correct me if I am misremembering any of this, but Chris, I believe, like throws something off of the baby, one of the babies that, like some clothing or something, and Hada has an issue with that because it's giving her PTSD basically from, obviously, as we know, she has a mommy, Mamacita, and she, even though these are fake babies, to her, this is a real situation. And so she doesn't like the way that Chris is being a little flagrant with the babies just because they're obviously fake. But to Huda, this is an indication of potentially how he would be as a father. And so she has some issues with that, and Chris doesn't like the way that, he thinks that she's being too serious with it. And then he tells her to shut up playfully, and Huda takes issue with that, of course. And then, she also has some other issues from earlier in the day when they were doing yoga, and Chris kind of mentioned something about everybody except for her and didn't offer to put her yoga mat away. So it's just kind of little things are piling up, and they are starting to have some issues.
Yeah, I feel like this ignited that in Huda for sure of just having to take care of a baby, like obviously she has a daughter of her own and bringing that PTSD into it, like it just wasn't great. And then with it on top of that, then having fight with Chris wasn't ideal in the situation either. So I think here just it was interesting to see the conflict that they were having and how they were going about the conversation. Like I felt like Chris was kind of being a little bit standoffish. Like he would bring something up, but then like not really want to address it fully. But then Huda would then take it to the extreme and just think that everything was terrible and that he was ending things all together and like all that. So here is definitely where we start to see the rockiness begin.
Yeah. At first, I really thought that Chris was handling it well. Like he, went to her and said basically like, "Is there something I'm doing that is bothering you?" And I thought that was a great way to handle it. Like I thought, wow, he's handling this very maturely. He's willing to listen, understanding that he's doing something wrong. And then I agree with you though that I think it feels like he is just kind of bottling up all of his issues and not really like he's saying all the right things, but you can tell just by his demeanor that he's kind of checked out
Yeah.
and not really fully. I don't know, like to me I just got the vibe that like they might like make up at certain points, but they are
Mhm.
just so different people. And this is never going to work in the outside world, and like they're both just kind of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah, for sure.
But then we get the reveal that someone is going to the hideaway. One couple will be the first to go into the hideaway this season. And immediately the couples get to choose, which couple they want to go in there. And immediately I think Huda is the one who says, Amaya and Brian. And then everyone just kind of cheers for them and immediately, says, yes, it should be all. So they go into the hideaway and seem to have a good night.
Yes, I know. I was excited for them. I felt like obviously everyone knew at this point Amaya was the fan favorite, so I think that's kind of why they chose them to go in. But it did seem like they had a great time.
Yes, it does. And then another couple decides to be exclusive, Taylor and Clark. So Taylor plans a choreographed routine with the boys. He asks Clark to be exclusive with him, and she says yes. So this moment was very funny to me because of the framing of it, where the two of them are having this very serious romantic conversation, and Alandria is just smack dab in the middle. Our friend Brian Scally had a very funny screen grab on Twitter that went like uber viral. And it was hilarious. And I mean, you could just tell that Alandria is like, why am I here right now? Get me anywhere else in the world.
I know the producers did that on purpose for us, but it was great. I mean, not great for Alandra, obviously, but I mean, I think she's over it at this point, also, so it's fine. But it was just funny to see that the way they framed it all.
Yeah, it was so funny. I mean, like, it was like, yeah, I agree with you that I think Alandria has fully moved on from Taylor at this point, but she still doesn't really want to see that. Like, come on, you know? She was,
He's
or
very
at least, like,
recent of an ex, even though he is an ex,
yeah.
but it's still recent.
Exactly. And it's like she doesn't want to be like the center of this picture right in between them. Like any stand anywhere else, but right there is crazy.
Oh yeah.
But then Chris and Huda have more issues. Chris has an issue with the fact that she wants to be romantic with him in the bedroom, but does not want to show affection in front of anyone else. She feels like, this is PDA if they're out in, the villa. But when they're in their bed, it's kind of a little more private, even though it's not private, like it feels more private. And so she is able to show more affection. So she says she's intentionally moving slower than she did with Jeremiah because obviously that blew up immediately and she doesn't want to make the same mistake again. I mean, Chris admits to being checked out, but he still wants to try to make things work. But Hodo walks away and there is continuing tension with them the following day. So, what did you think of all this? Do you understand Huda's point of, it feeling more private in the bedroom, or does Chris have a point that that's kind of an issue that she doesn't want to show any affection when they're in front of other people?
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. So I see both sides of it, and it's like a weird situation to navigate for sure because Huda's trying to be conscious and not want to show PDA, and then she considers like the bedroom obviously different because no one's actually watching them in that moment. But then Chris doesn't understand why she can't even show some kind of affection out in public. Like at this point, like it's different. Like you know these people better, and like they're gonna know that you're not doing this like out of just because like this is how you do it all the time. Like she obviously was learning and understanding the dynamics there within the whole villa, but so Chris didn't like really understand that part of it of like, well, like why can't you do this? Like these are your friends. Like this isn't like what are you hiding from this? So that's why it made it seem so Chris didn't feel like Huda was into him. Like he wanted to try to pursue her in ways that like she was just trying to look as like a certain way on the outside of it, it seemed.
Yeah, I also see both sides here. I do, because I can understand like I think if we flip the roles here, like if we say like Huda is the guy in the relationship and the guy only wanted to have sex but then not show any other romantic interest outside of that, I feel like we would be looking at him a little crazy. Like we would be thinking like is he just using her basically for sex and not really interested in any other part of having a relationship. So I can see that point for sure. I I do understand though, in Huda's perspective, she's thinking that she does want to move differently than she did with Jeremiah because clearly that, was a disaster. So I can fully understand Huda wanting to move slower, but I think if you want to move slower, it needs to be consistent in every aspect of the relationship. And also, then, until you are ready to show affection outside of the bedroom, I think that you probably should not show it as much inside of the bedroom, to put it as delicately as possible,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But yeah, I just think that you kind of need to be consistent in all areas of however, whatever speed you want to move at.
agreed.
Well, then we get another America's vote. So America voted on their favorite couple, and the couple with the least amount of votes is sent home. Unsurprisingly, to me at least, Taylor and Clark were eliminated here. I mean, we saw them getting last in every aspect at the last time there were the polls and the voting. So I was not shocked to see them eliminated here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was not shocked either. I knew going into this vote it had to be Taylor and Clark going home, which now, I mean, at least they could leave together and like they just decided that they were exclusive. So hopefully they're still going strong. I haven't seen anything recently, but I mean, it's been less than a week, so I'm sure that
Yeah.
they're doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was really sad. Unfortunately, yeah, they had just been exclusive, so the curse continues this season of couples getting eliminated immediately after being exclusive. It won't be the last. Spoiler
No.
alert. But so yeah, I mean, it was sad because I do think I really feel for Clark this whole season. I think that she has really been unfairly kind of villainized in a lot of ways, I think, by the audience just because they love Elandria so much. Understandably, we all love Elandria, but Clark didn't do anything wrong. And I think just her being the other person that Taylor is interested in just kind of immediately put her in a villain role, but she did nothing wrong to deserve that. And I hope that she knows that now that she's back out in the public.
Yeah, I think so. And I feel like she understood that also, like even being in the villa when she was
Yeah.
talking about it with Taylor, like it definitely was just because she's dragged into all the drama with Taylor, not because it's her.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, then we get a little fun moment here where Amaya and Brian hatch a plan to trap Huda and Chris into having a conversation and working things out. They each tell one of them to meet them at the dock, but in reality, Amaya and Brian never show up, and this leaves Huda and Chris both at the dock alone with each other. So they do have the conversation, they hash out their differences, and decide to move forward. So I, in this moment, I'm happy for them. I'm not super confident that this is going to stick.
No, and they were kind of already not even like when they started the conversation, it seemed like it almost wasn't going to come to a good conclusion. Like I
Yeah.
was like, wait, like is this taking a turn for the worse here? But then it got a little bit better and it still didn't seem great, but it got better. So at least they could decide to just move forward.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm glad because I'm sure that it's less awkward for everybody else when they're in a good place, at least. And so I'm happy that they were able to get to that point, and and at least, if nothing else, just be cordial, be in a good space, be like, okay, let's just kind of get through the rest of these last few days here, and not just ignore each other and make it awkward for everybody. So I'm glad that Amaya and Brian were able to help them, put them back together.
Yes, for sure.
Then we get a very emotional episode. So we get the family visits, which were in person this year. Budget has gone up, and so they have the money to fly everybody to Fiji, all of their families, which was very nice. They do trick Amaya and Brian, who were the first ones to have their families show up. They originally put them on the big screen, like they're doing a video call with them, like they did last season, but then at some point the video call cuts out and they think it's just technical issues, so they're waiting there, and while they are waiting their families sneak into the villa. All the other couples see them and don't say anything, and then they come up behind them and surprise them. So it was so cute, such a cute moment. And I mean, there's a few highlights, I guess, that we can talk about. Alandria and her mother need their own show. First of
Yes.
all, I loved their dynamic. They were so cute. I loved when Huda and her sisters told Huda about the viral moment, the Mamacita moment. That was cute. But yeah, I mean, were there anything that stuck out to you?
I was gonna say those moments. I feel
Sorry,
like no,
took the good
I
ones.
know those were good ones. I think just overall seeing, I felt like Iris's family was really sweet. I loved her mom and her sister, and also just seeing them together with Pepe's parents. Like it just felt like actually like they all got along really well, which was nice. Which I wasn't surprised about, but I was like, oh, like now like they actually do feel like a strong couple. I mean, they already were building, but it felt like even in this moment though, I was like, oh, like they actually do see stuff outside of this too. But yeah, I just liked all the family visits. It was nice. I liked the surprise that they did. Obviously, we knew that they were all going there, but they didn't know yet. So it was great to see that everyone was super happy to see their family, and so that made it fun to watch.
Yeah, I would say like the biggest revelation that I feel like came of this was Nick and Alandria kind of
Yeah,
finding out that America had really been kind of standing them before they ever
yeah,
developed any connection. And, from the very first episode, I forgot whether it was Nick's parents or I think it was Alandria's mom that really said something about that, right?
yeah,
And I liked that because I think that it really helped Nick and Landry to be like, was this fate? Like, were we supposed to be together this whole time? Like, was there something that America saw that the two of us didn't see? And so I feel like that helped them kind of be okay with being together because I think like there was just a little bit awkwardness of like I think Nick still kind of having Sierra in the back of his mind and Alandria kind of I don't know if she had Taylor in her mind, but just kind of being like, I don't know that it was like, are we just friends? Are we more like, I think there was still kind of this back and forth, but I feel like once they both talked to their families, I think it really did help them be like, no, I think we really should like fully be okay with exploring this.
yeah. No, I thought that was good just for them to have that understanding of like, yeah, like we are backed by America here.
Hmm.
So that was nice, and it did feel like then they felt like, okay, like let's dive into this more.
Yeah. Well, at the end of this episode, they have like a family dinner. Once the families all leave, the Islanders have a family dinner just with each other, and they are shocked to discover that there is going to be a final dumping right then and there, and Ace and Shelley received the fewest votes and were sent home, and this was pretty shocking. I think for a lot of people. I think that, Ace and Shelley were towards the bottom of all of the votes, the rankings that they had done a few episodes prior. But I think still there was this kind of understanding that like, okay, we might not be the biggest fans of Ace and Shelley, but they are the strongest couple. They are the couple that has been there since the beginning, not as a couple, but like developing a relationship even when they were in other pairings. And they had just, made things exclusive when they were at the hideaway. And, there was this kind of shocking reveal that, yeah, even with all of that, they still got the fewest votes. So what did you think when that happened?
Yeah, I didn't think that. I had a feeling that it could have been them, but then I also was like, oh well. I feel like America does want to vote for a couple that's actually strong, but I guess that I was wrong. So I feel like in this episode, it should have probably been Huda and Chris that went home, but Huda still has a lot of fans that are voting for her, so I think that definitely swayed it. And I don't know. I feel like people just have such a strong hatred of Ace at this point that they just don't want to see him winning Love Island. So this was just that was why they didn't receive the most votes there.
And I do wonder if the Islanders themselves had been focusing more on keeping stronger couples in the villa.
Yeah.
I wonder if America would have kind of followed suit. Like, I wonder if it's just kind of like this is how this season, like the rules of this season. Like, I think of it kind of like a Survivor or Big Brother season. Like, the contestants themselves kind of make the rules of that season. What is valued in that season? What is important? What is considered to be, grounds for removal? Like, what is, what are we prioritizing here? And clearly, this season, strong couples were not prioritized in staying in the villa. And it was, more important for people to explore other options. That was what was praised and made people stay in the villa. Was, have you explored all your options? Are you willing to explore in the future? And so I guess that just kind of became the rules for this season. Was like, if you were in a strong exclusive couple, you're free to leave.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because I think that definitely was a way where people were thinking about like, okay, well, we're just gonna vote for our absolute favorite people, not necessarily
Yeah.
couple, but the people that they like, and they don't care about how strong you are as a couple because obviously that hasn't been doing great for throughout the season for people. If they are in a strong couple, they get sent home. So that's a good comparison there.
Yeah, because like every other couple kind of has at least one fan favorite. Like
Yeah.
Pepe, Huda. I mean, strangely enough to say, Huda's become a fan favorite.
Mhm.
Nick and Alandria both, and then Amaya, Papaya. Like every other couple had somebody who was kind of like at the very top of those fan favorite rankings, I would say. And unfortunately, I think Shelley's stock has kind of dropped as the season's gone on a bit, and Ace has always been kind of right at the bottom. So yeah, I mean, I guess when you really think about it, it does make sense in that sense. But I think that if America was really trying to, vote for who is the strongest couple and eliminating the weakest couples, it would not have been them. So
Yeah, definitely.
very interesting, very interesting. But then we get to the finale episode. So there's, it's a lot of final dates, which for the most part are very cute, very sappy, but not a whole lot to discuss necessarily. But there was one coupling here who kept us entertained and guessing till the very, very end, and that is Huda and Chris. So Huda gets upset with Chris at the beginning of this episode for at night when they were all in bed, for because she wants to cuddle and Chris does not want to cuddle. He wants to sleep. He values his sleep, and she tells him in that moment as they're at night. She says, "If you're choosing your battle right now. Like if you choose to go to sleep, then I'm not going to speak to you the next day." So she, he chooses that battle and he kind of just ignores her. And then the next day, they go on their final date and they are kind of arguing about this the whole time. And they really don't come to a resolution. There is a woman there who is there to perform for them, and she kind of just interrupts their awkward fighting. It's if you haven't watched this, like I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Love Island finale, just fast forward, see who wins. So there's nothing here. Watch this date. It is something. It is reality TV gold. And Huda decides to end their relationship after this. She says that she thinks they're probably better off just being friends. Chris says, "Cool, it's fine with me." But Huda says, "Can we at least be friends and enjoy our last day?" And Chris is like, "Nah." Like, I'm not gonna, I don't have hatred for you, but we're not gonna be cool yet. So she, as they're walking away, even like he kind of, there's like little rocks. They're like walking kind of like on water or like little pebbles, and he kind of just lets her walk there, like in her heels by herself.
Oh my
Doesn't
god.
really help her. So yeah, it's quite something.
Yeah. I mean, at least we got some drama in the finale,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's not great for either of them, obviously. But it did bring great TV for us. So can't complain about that.
No, yeah. I was thrilled to have this because I really thought when I saw a 2 hour episode, I was like, oh my God, for like what is there to cover for 2 hours in a Love Island finale? But at least we had something here to dig into that was quite entertaining.
Yes.
And there's, updates for some of these other couples during their dates also. Nick and Alandria had a very cute thing where they had uh, messages from their stands that they got to read. And I think, again, in addition to the family visit and this, like, I think they're kind of really understanding the fact that, like, America had been standing Nicolandria from day one and saw something that they never did. And then Amaya and Brian became exclusive during their date. And Nick and Alandria also did agree to continue dating after the show. I don't think they became exclusive if I remember right, but Amaya and Brian did. So some exciting updates to end the season before we got to the results here.
Yeah. Now it actually feels like we have some strong couples, which is
Yeah.
nice, to have that now finally happen, and that people actually support.
Yes, for sure. No, I think like it took us some time, and these couples are all very new, so I think there's not going to be necessarily like there's not potential for like an engagement at the end of this, like on Bachelor in Paradise or something. How you have like three engagements sometimes at the end, which is ridiculous. But and we never really get that on Love Island, anyways. But like if that was like part of the show, it I don't know which couple would have like we would have felt comfortable going that far. You know what I mean?
Yeah, none of them.
Yeah. But we then get the final four results. Iris and Pepe are in fourth place. Huda and Chris are in third, which is wild. The fact that a couple that's not even together anymore beat Iris and Pepe.
I know. It's just because of all the Huda fans.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
and
thought,
also people voting did not realize that Huda and Chris would have broken up by now, but
yeah.
I think
No, I
we
know
maybe
it's
could have
crazy.
guessed it. Yeah. And then we have the final two couples, Alandra and Nick, and Amaya and Brian. I thought it was going to be Amaya and Brian, but I really wasn't 100% sure. Did you have any expectations coming into this of whether you thought which one of those you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I was 99.9% sure it was Amaya and Brian, so I felt like going into it, I was like, okay, I know it's gonna be an Amaya win.
I thought that too, but I feel like I just saw so many Nicolandria fans also online, really
Mhm.
rooting for them. That like I didn't think it was going to be like a runaway victory, and also Nick and Alandria both have very strong fan bases, whereas like Brian's a Casa Amor edition, so I don't think that he has individually as large of a fan base. So like Amaya can kind of carry the weight for the both of them for sure, but like I thought there's potential for Nick and Alandria fans to kind of sneak a win for them, but they did not. They came in second, and Amaya Papaya and Brian end up our winners here.
Yay, I'm so happy for them, and it made sense to end the season that way. Just of course our sweetheart Amaya Papaya.
Yes, for sure. No surprise they split the 100K prize between them, and all is right in the world. I cannot wait for Amaya to come out of the villa and just see her love and support. And really, a lot of them, I mean, have like huge followings now. I just want them to like film them getting their phones back.
Oh
I
my
feel like that
gosh.
would be a really, really fun watch, like a Peacock, just like after show something. I don't know. It would be very entertaining to watch them find out like how many followers they have now, and just like see how much support they have and read some of their messages. Like I think it would be a really fun thing. But yeah, I'm excited. I know we're not going to get that, but I'm excited to see their interviews in a few days, probably, where they'll find out some of these moments, watch some of the clips back. I'm sure like Bryce Sander from Entertainment Tonight has been showing all of the couples when their exit interviews, like Amaya's song and the Mamacita moment. So like I'm curious to see how they're going to react to seeing all those moments for the first time back.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I feel like it's gonna be just overall like the excitement that they have of seeing how much love and support that they've had is just gonna be great.
Yes. Well, Ariana also revealed that there will be a reunion coming up in August. She and Andy Cohen will be co-hosting it this year, which I'm excited about because we know that any Bravo fan knows that Andy will not afraid to ask the questions that some other interviewers shy away from. So I am excited for that, and we will certainly cover that when it comes out in a few weeks.
Yes. I know that will be exciting to see that. I can't believe that few like August is kind of close to now. But that'll be fun to see that and see how their couples last or don't last and all the drama and everything that can happen in between now and then.
Yeah, I'm glad that they give them a minute before filming the reunion because it's like with Big Brother, I always wish that they would do a reunion like that. Like, we get them on stage or they ask some questions, but they haven't seen the show yet back, so they haven't seen like what they've said about each other. And, there's so much more potential for drama when you let them like go home, watch the show back, let things happen between the couples, see who sticks together, and if any of them are going to break up, even before that. I think the one that I could see that happen with is potentially Iris and Pepe, just because I think that Pepe will want to potentially explore things with Hannah. I still do think that. I still do, and I could be wrong, but I
I
still do
don't
think
know.
that there's potential there for him to be like, just not feeling like he can comfortably like be exclusive with Iris until he like kind of just closes that chapter at least with Hannah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like him and Iris are stronger than him and Hannah were. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that causing some kind of drama.
Yeah, like I just think because like he broke up with Grayson, I think that like that stand on business challenge, the way that he was talking about Hannah still at that point, I was like,
Yeah.
it's been a minute. Even at that point it had been, and I was like, the fact that he was still thinking about her after all that time just made me think like he probably hasn't forgotten about her yet, even now.
Yeah, that's true. But I think he just wasn't really into Grayson.
Yeah.
So I think that was also a reason
No, for
kind of
sure.
to help him get out of it a little easier.
That's probably very true also. But we
Yeah.
will see. We
Yeah.
will see. I am excited for that. Look, it's been a very polarizing season of Love Island, but I've really enjoyed it. I really have, and I think even people who are complaining about it now, I think in a few years, when we get a really bad season of Love Island again, where there's really like not much happening, we're gonna be looking at this back at this one very fondly and all the like very iconic, memorable moments that we got out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like overall people just also there's been so many new fans of Love Island. I think everyone just kind of had the expectations of last season still in their minds. And obviously like season 6 was incredible, but you're not gonna get to that level again. Like you can't compare it to that. And people were just unfairly comparing all the things to it. And obviously like when you're having such a success. Like it's not nothing's gonna hit to that level. So with season 7, having some people disappointed, not some, a lot of people disappointed. But I think that overall we did get a good season. We have still strong couples at the end of this, and we got the drama along the way. So I can't complain.
I might get a lot of hate for this. I, in some ways, enjoyed this more than season 6
Wow.
because I watch for the mess. And look, I really don't care about the sappy romantic. Like, I think as long as we get one strong couple that lasts like a decent amount of time from these shows, the season was a success. Like, we
Mhm.
get so many shows these days, like Bachelor in Paradise, where it's like the couple lasts for 1 month, and then like there's only one option for a couple on those shows too, and then like they like don't last, or like even by the after the final rose they're broken up. To me, then that is potentially like you could say is a failure of a season. But I would say if any of these couples last, like if they're still together when next season premieres, I think it was a successful season. And I think we got more messy drama this season than we did last year. And there was drama last season, don't get me wrong, there was plenty. But I do think that we potentially had more this season, if you really think about it. And so, like, I know that there weren't as many, like, strong, likable couples that, like, from beginning to end were pretty steady. And I think that for people who watch this for the love of the Love Island, then yes, season 6 was probably a much better season for you. But for people who watch for the mess and the drama, we got so much of that this season, and I feel like it was even more popular. Like, I feel like I was talking about it more with my friends even than I did last season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it more. I think I enjoyed it pretty equally, but in certain aspects, I think that it actually even exceeded last season. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I feel like overall we did get a lot more drama this season, just between various different couples. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, it was kind of geared towards the Huda and Jeremiah drama, but then once that ended, then we got to see more. So, and also, and people had some downfalls, uprising. Like there was
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot dynamics going on throughout the season, which also made it fun to just witness and be able to talk about. I had so many people always talking to about this. I was always talking about Love Island. So now I'm like, what do I talk about at work now with all my coworkers
Get
and
them into
people?
Big Brother.
That's true. I have been starting to tell people to watch Big Brother. But I feel like Love Island were just so popular across
Yeah.
everyone, which was great.
Yeah, it's so rare to get a show like that these days that just like you almost feel left out if you're not watching it.
Yeah.
And that's was definitely Love Island season 7, I think. Like, I mean, just so many people from my coworkers to my friends and like everybody, I feel like I'm texting like 6 different people as I'm watching it, and like it's crazy. It's like there's nothing quite like it right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I loved it. I loved this season. I know a lot of people maybe right now are saying that they didn't, but I think that once there's a little bit of distance from it, I think that this season is going to age really, really well.
Yeah. Agreed. But sad to see that it's over. But now we have another show to be watching. We can watch it live if you want to. Big Brother live feeds have just started tonight. So as we're recording on Sunday night, um, but or they start tonight, right?
Yes, in 1 hour, an
Yeah.
hour and a half,
So very
as we're
soon.
recording this.
But yeah, so I'm excited to talk about Big Brother now. Shall we get into it?
I can't wait.
Yes. Well, with the premiere started on Thursday, and then we just had another episode Sunday night. So we have a little bit to get into, learning about the house guests and now seeing them actually on our screens, not just their interviews. So for seeing their intro packages, did you have any surprises? Anyone that really stood out to you in particular here from just the packages?
Yeah, there were a couple that surprised me, just kind of from their intro packages versus what we saw in their preseason interviews. I would say somebody that kind of surprised me a bit was actually Catherine. I feel like I liked her a lot more in the not that I really liked her in her intro in her interviews, but I also really liked her. I think even more when her intro package. I felt like she had more personality than I expected her to,
Mhm.
and I really liked her for that. And then I think Amy in the intro, like she was a lot more talkative than I expected her to be, and we kind of got some people mentioning that when they were going in the house, that she was talking quite a bit. So that worried me a bit. Or I was like, ooh, I don't know that I quite clocked that from her interview that she was going to be kind of that have that much energy. So those were kind of the two that I think were just a little bit different than I expected them to be. Was there anyone for you?
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I also saw that with Catherine and with Amy. And then I was just excited to see more from Kelly because then after we chose our draft, we went to see her Instagram, and she had such cute posts on
Yeah.
Instagram that I was like, oh, I really am interested to see more about her. And I felt like her personality also came out more from her intro package. So I already liked her, but then it made me like her even more. And just the fact that she is a pilot. Like I don't know if she mentioned that in her interview that I saw, but the fact that she can fly the plane herself and like that was really impressive. So I like Kelly.
Yeah, I think the other one that I didn't mention was Zach. I feel like I got very boring, dull, like vanilla vibes from him in his interview. And then here I got a little bit more Matt Hardiman vibes. I've seen them compared to each other quite a bit online, and yeah, I didn't quite see it in the interviews, but definitely saw it more so as he's like doing emotes when he's next to Julie in the backyard. Like I'm like, okay, I didn't quite get that vibe from you before, but I guess you are that guy.
Yeah. No, everyone was talking about how much he looks like Matt at the premiere party, which was funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, because then they also commented on in the challenge. They thought that like when he did win, spoiler who won, he found Julie. But that he like kind of did like crazy eyes, and Angela said that was like, oh my gosh, it was
Oh
Matt's
no.
crazy eyes.
Oh no.
So, but I don't think he's gonna get that rep. But I think it was just like in that moment, it looked kind of like that.
Oh boy. PTSD, I'm sure, for Angela.
Oh yeah, no, they kept bringing it up, but it was funny. But yeah, so we have as Julie's talking with the house guests, the lights turn off, and then when they come back on, Julie is gone, and so is the HOH relic, which was underneath her screen. And this is when we see the twist of the mastermind come on our screens, and then he says that he is behind their disappearances, and the house guests have to split into two groups. So then one will find Julie, and then the other will have to find the HOH relic, and then the winners will receive an undisclosed prize. So here they just randomly choose these scrolls to see which one they're getting to do. And the first group is saving Julie, and they have to build the bridge and figure out all which of the eight doors Julie is behind, and behind each door there's a message describing what Julie was wearing in the when they first came in on the show. And then only one of those messages is correct. So if you block in an incorrect door, you're eliminated. But then the first person to get the right door wins. And so we see. I feel like this kind of made sense. It brought into like kind of puzzling and then memory. So I like this challenge overall.
Mhm. Yeah, I did too. I thought I think that the last two premieres, like the season and last season, they definitely improved the premiere challenges from what we had seen a couple years prior to that, where they were live. And I don't think Big Brother does live challenges very well.
No.
They're very boring. It's just this watching 16 people do the same thing over one at a time, over and over and over again. Or just kind of watching with no music, no editing, no DRs. You're just watching people like either do something that you can't judge based on just watching it. Like you can't tell who's in the lead or not. Or it's just like watching them like hang from something, which it's fun if you're like watching it on the live feeds or like you're watching an edited version of it where you can get some DRs in between and like they have showing the just the kind of the highlights where they're doing something interesting is happening. But yeah, I am glad that they have changed that at the very least and we're not doing the live movements anymore for that reason. But yeah, I liked this challenge. I thought it was pretty fair that it was pretty equitable where anyone could win. Um, Going back a bit, the mastermind, I don't know how we went from the adorable Janky to this horrendous looking mastermind that will, will give me nightmares for the next month or so. I'm horrified. But You know, three challenges in one episode is a little bit much for my taste, but it was fine.
Yeah, it were there were a lot of challenges, and we didn't see yet what Zach won, but because Zach is the winner here, he ends up winning $10,000, which that's a really big prize. So that was really great
And
for
it
Zach.
ends up being bigger, as we
Yeah, it
find out in
does.
tonight's episode.
Exactly. So really big prize there. So it was a good one to win for Zach for sure. And then for the second group, they have to save the HOH relic. So there were numerous versions of the relic spread around, and they had to figure out which is the correct one that went missing. And then there were various different clues around, hidden throughout this room, and they have to find which is the correct colors and the shapes that they're looking for. So this one just seemed like figuring out what sizes or what thing looked the most correct. And here Jimmy won the power, and his win or like I don't know if this is really a win, but like what he got is that he has to pick four people who will then be the only ones competing for HOH. So, and he can also choose himself to be one of them.
Yeah.
But very lopsided kind of prizes here. um,
Well, I think it seemed lopsided in one direction when premiere night, because I think most people thought, well, I would certainly want to win Jimmy's prize over Zach's. But then from what we saw tonight, I'm like, well, I would have rather gotten Zach's prize for sure. Like, I think it's funny how I think a lot of people were thinking it was really lopsided in one direction, and now looking back, it was kind of really lopsided in the other direction.
yeah, oh, for sure. But it was interesting then because I also felt like everyone was kind of just not trying to be HOH.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, Jimmy kind of has a hard job here to choose, but he does end up choosing himself, Adrian, Ashley, and Vince. And that's probably it's mostly because like he felt close to each of them, except he wasn't feeling like as strong with Vince yet, but he wanted him to trust him. So he chose them all just to know that he was also going to be safe himself,
Hmm.
but also because they also expressed that they could play in it,
Yeah.
and most of the other guests didn't want to.
And what did you think about that? Because I think, you know, there's a lot of talk about whether you want to be first HOH or not. I think back in the early seasons of Big Brother, it was really a lot of people thought you don't want to be the first HOH because it puts a target on your back immediately and you're having to nominate people who you barely know for, you know, no reason whatsoever. And then you're just creating enemies for no reason. But I think that that has really changed in recent years, where I think now the meta is that you want to be the first HOH because you want people to come to you make with deals and alliance options, and you then get to choose what you want to be a part of and really form it how you want your alliance exactly to be because you're the one in all the power, so everyone's just going to kind of go with what you want to go with. So what do you think? Like, would you want to be first HOH?
I don't think I would. I think I also just want to kind of just lay low and not try to stir up the pot in the house the first week. So I would have told whoever, if it was Jimmy or whoever, like, oh, I don't want to be up on as HOH or like potential to win in this comp. So I can see why a lot of them didn't want it. But it did seem like a lot of people who didn't want it. Like at first I was like, oh, maybe it'll be a few, but like the fact that it was most of them, like I was a little bit surprised about that.
That was surprising to me too. I think I would probably want to be one of the four picked and then maybe not actually win it. Because I think if you, one of the ones picked, like we saw this, that they made a deal that, like, okay,
Yeah.
none of the four of us will put each other up. And
Hmm.
I think that's where the position that I want to be in. Like, I want to be one of those people who has that option because if it looks like something then that, like, I could be very good at and potentially win, then at least I can kind of decide in the moment, like, okay, I know who the other options are for HOH. I know if we've made a deal or not. So if we've made a deal and if it's somebody who I feel like I had a pretty good connection with. Like, I know it's like they barely had 2 seconds to talk, but like, I think you
Yeah.
kind of know if you like have a pretty instant good connection. Like, we saw that with like Amy and Jimmy, for example. They had a very instant, like, we are going to work together. We kind of bond. It feels someone who feels like home. So I think
Yeah.
if that was somebody who, if I'm Jimmy and I see that Amy is in the lead to win this, then maybe I could be like, okay, we have a deal, first of all, and it's somebody who I really like. Maybe I don't need to actually be the one to get the blood on my hands, but I was able to decide that with more knowledge than everyone else did and not even giving themselves the chance.
Yeah, I see that. I feel like also it's just such a small group of people that at that point, like, it's easy to build that kind of trust with that small group. If it was like six people, then that might have been harder. But I think with the four, it
Yeah.
definitely made it so that you could keep them safe.
Yeah, and also then you can, potentially, if you don't want to win, you can show everybody, hey, I'm not a strong competitor. I'm not a threat. Like, you're
Yeah.
seeing me compete here, twice now, and I haven't won either of them.
Yeah.
So that's also maybe a good option for people to see that you're not somebody they need to be afraid of.
Yeah, very good points there. But then so we do see the HOH comp, so our third comp of this episode. And here the house guests have to balance objects on the BB blaster, which then will destroy the mastermind's lair, and the first person to do so wins. So here,
Imagine giving that sentence to somebody who's never seen Big Brother before.
I don't know what they would think is going on.
Yeah, someone Love Island fan who's been encouraged to watch Big Brother and then hears that sentence. Maybe not the show for them.
Yeah. But in this, it's just fake objects basically and balancing. Um but then it did seem really close actually. Like it kind of seemed like
Really close.
Adrian had a shot at winning it, but then Vince comes and wins it, and he is the first HOH, so he is on my draft team, so I'm happy for
Mm,
Vince for winning the first HOH here. It also seemed like with all of the diary room talks we were seeing with him that they were kind of setting it up for him to win, because he was talking about how he wasn't sure if he would keep Jimmy safe, like he just wanted to win it and kind of like give himself that safety. And so with that, I was like, well, if they're already showing us these kind of conversations, there
yeah.
has to be him as the winner. So I wasn't totally shocked to see him win.
Yeah, I was happy to see him. I really, really liked him in the preseason interviews, and I was thrilled to see him win here because we've had so many chaotic first HOHs the last few years. Like when you think about it, like with Angela, of course, last season, with who else? I feel like everybody after Cody in All Stars, second All Stars, every first week, every first HOH has just been like a bit of a mess. So I thought, okay, we might finally get like a good solid HOA, someone who knows the show, knows what they're doing. I thought that there was a chance that we might get somebody who can actually take advantage of this position rather than just completely being a disaster. So I was excited for a potentially kind of different type of first week this season with him being HOH.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was gonna bring more experience, or just not. I mean, obviously he hasn't played it, but like has the knowledge of like and more stability in his mind too, in being the HOH.
Yeah, although we saw with Frenchie in 23 that knowledge is not necessarily power.
True, that is true. Um, but now we finally get to see who the surprise house guest is, which, to no surprise, it was Rachel Riley. And she enters into the house and is a full house guest. But then the mastermind reveals that he had an accomplice, and it is one of them. And that person is not an actual house guest yet, but they will become one if the majority of the house guests do not detect who it is. So we kind of had two twists in this scenario here. So what are your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, okay, at first I was like confused by it. I was like, I don't really quite understand this. But because it was like, okay, Rachel's the 16th house guest, not the 17th, and one of them is the accomplice who it was just all kind of like, okay, I
The
need to
math wasn't
rewind.
mathing.
Yeah, I was like, I need to rewind and figure out what this means. But I'm okay with this twist. Like it's fine. I didn't quite I was like, okay, is this it really isn't worth not having 4 days of feeds. Like we could have just done this vote in the premiere episode, right? Like I that's kind of my issue with it. Like I think that they could have just taken the last 10 minutes of this episode, showed them strategizing and figuring out who potentially it is, and then end the episode with the vote and deciding, if someone what they were all going to be house guests or if the accomplice is voted off, and that's how we end the premiere. And then I think, okay, then we get feeds right away. We only missed 2 days of feeds instead of 5 days of feeds, and that to me was just the part that annoyed me. I understand wanting to, let us speculate for days and have the TikTok clips shown and all this stuff. Like, I get it. And I'm sure they got exactly what they were looking for with that because people really did, like, scan the episode for any little clues. And that part was fun, but we're just missing so much that it's just kind of annoying to me.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, that left us with a cliffhanger that we had to wait so many days for. I mean, so many, it was 4 days. But um
For Big Brother, that's a lot to not
yes,
have feeds for 4 days.
that is a lot. So I feel like that maybe they'll take back and as feedback and maybe not make it so it's that long for people to watch the live feeds again.
Oh, Molly, if you
But
think the Big Brother takes feedback, you have another thing coming.
yeah, well, they can keep note of it. Maybe not actually enact on it, but just
Yeah.
keep it in their minds. But yeah, so I feel like it did make it exciting to think like, oh, who could this be? And that's what it left on as the cliffhanger. So then we picked up in Sunday night's episode with who they think the accomplice is, and everyone has to vote. So we had 11 votes for Riley, 5 votes for Zay. And so at this point, it's like, okay, so I guess it's Riley, but no, it's not Riley. We find out that the accomplice is Amy, and we saw the clips of her completing her tasks. So it's good to see that Amy did make it through, and I'm happy that she accomplished those.
I'm really glad that Amy was not voted off here because I expected Amy to be a Rachel ally in this game because they just seem to have a lot in common. And I thought, oh God, if she is, because there was speculation on TikTok, throughout the last few days that people were showing clips of her where they thought that she, had something in her pocket, that she was, like, when the lights went out, that she kind of made a motion of like, taking something out of her pocket or putting it in. And so people kind of picked up on that and thought that that meant that Amy likely was the accomplice, which was correct. And I thought when it was kind of that was assumed, I was like, I really hope that they don't vote her out because I'm really scared that then Rachel's going to have a harder time in this game without her. So I was really glad, and she was really likable. We love someone who's for All Girls Alliance, and all of the answers that she gave were kind of what we want to hear as fans a lot of the time, even though maybe doesn't always bode well for her game. But yeah, I was really glad that she stayed in the game and became the 17th house guest.
Yes, agreed. And we do see that Rachel and Amy later on in this episode do form an alliance called the Mom Squad, which was nice to see that.
Yes.
But before that, we also had Rachel revealed that she has to be a have not for the week, but that also gives her immunity. And then she also will have to get 3 other people who also have to come into the have nots with her, and each person then chooses the next person. So she chooses Will, and then Will chooses Zach, and Zach chooses Ava. So the 4 of them have to be have nots, but they also have immunity for the week. So kind of a lot of people to have immunity, it seems like, at this point.
Yeah, which I don't love because it really, really limits Vince's options to choose from. First of all, he has to choose three. And then now all these people have immunity, and it really, really starts to limit the pool down of who he can choose. And I always just think it's better and more fun when it's like in Survivor when people lose their votes and they do like split tribals and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, just let them play. It's just like just let these players play. I understand if you want to give Rachel immunity week 1. I fully support giving Rachel immunity for 10 weeks. But I don't need her to then pick 3 other people. And I mean it's just like what Paul did, like what they did with Paul in 19 where it's like you give them friendship bracelets and all this stuff to garner goodwill from people so that then, they it gives Rachel more allies immediately, which, I'm for that, but I would have preferred just, make Rachel a have not, give her immunity, leave it at that, and let Vince choose from everybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, with we have the elimination ceremony already, but then if then one of those gets off, like who then the replacements are going to be, because there are very limited options there.
Yes, there
Um,
are.
but then this is when we see Zach's actual real prize of this isn't just 10K that he takes home. It's actually that he could use this 10K for taking himself off the block post veto meeting before the jury phase. So that's a really big advantage here, that you can buy yourself off the block. So that's really interesting to see that. And I hope that he's going to use it.
Yeah, this is interesting because on one hand, my first thought was that this is way too powerful. That I don't love things like this where it's basically like, I mean, to continue the Survivor analogies, it's basically like an idol that you can use after the vote. And I never liked those idols on Survivor, and I don't like them on Big Brother, where, we've seen this, like they gave this to Tyler, they gave this to Paul. Like we saw it for a little bit in Big Brother quite often, but I, at least with this, and the one good thing about this is that he is incentivized to try not to use it because he's getting 10K if he doesn't use it. And so now it's like, okay, do I want that and to take the risk of potentially staying on the block so that I can maybe both survive and keep the 10K? Or do I just, play it safe, give up the 10K, give it to the HOH, and get myself off the block for this week and guarantee my safety for right now? Just wish that either it was a shorter time frame that you could use this, like maybe just like the first 3 or 4 weeks instead of all the way till jury, because that's a long time to basically like, for Zach to tell people he has this and then them not to even try because it's not going to work. So it basically either guarantees him jury, or I wish that maybe they would up the amount, like maybe you make it like 25K, because then I think it's a harder decision for him to be like, that's a lot of money to give up for my 1 week of safety when potentially the next week I could just be eliminated and, and not have the money either, or potentially, stay on the block and survive and also keep the 25K, like it's a harder decision. So I think with this, it's not quite enough, I think, to where he's like incentivized enough to keep the money.
Yeah, I agree. The 10K does seem really small for this kind of win, or just like the power of it now that it's even greater. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see if it's used or if he just chooses to keep it.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I'm not surprised that I feel like I was kind of surprised when the only rewards for those first 2 challenges were money and then that one choosing the HOHs, because then that's not something that extends throughout the season, where I feel like they like to give those little powers that like
Mhm.
last for a few weeks during that first episode. So this made sense to me. I was like, oh, okay, now we're back to normal Big Brother here.
Yes, for sure. And then we have Showergate. So
Hashtag
Ash,
Showergate.
yes. So the first night that Vince gets into his HOH room, Ashley has to take a shower there, and the shower lasts a while. and Vince hadn't even showered yet. So the majority of the house then is talking about this and saying how that was disrespectful, that Ashley shouldn't have showered before Vince, and that she was taking too long. So, kind of upset a lot of people that she took her sweet time getting clean.
Yeah.
Um, and I can see why people were mad or upset about that and overall, but it's just such a stupid thing to be like such harping on this. I mean, obviously, it's also like the first day, so you're exhausted and just wanting to go to sleep. So, that also didn't help with the feelings of that. But it was interesting to see that. And then also Catherine asked Ashley about it in front of the group, so in front of a group, and then they talk about it there. And so it seems like this is still going to be very common theme of this week so far, at least.
Yeah, I think at this point, everyone is just kind of looking for something to, like, some reason to target somebody, like, any little thing that you do to put a spotlight on yourself at this early on, day one, two of the game, is not a great thing because it's just going to, be the one thing that everybody harps on. Everybody's looking for something to keep the spotlight off of them.
Mhm.
This is where I again wish that we had feeds because I think back to Taylor Hale and in BB24 the whole house was talking all about Taylor and how all these terrible things that she did and said early on in the game. And because we had feeds from day one that season, we knew that this wasn't true. We knew that they were putting all of this out of proportion. And we would have never known that if we didn't have the feeds. And we always would have said, well, maybe she did do some of this stuff. Who knows? We can't say for sure. But we can say for sure because we had feeds. Now, I'm not saying that like what the group is saying about Ashley is on the level of Taylor. We'll see when the feeds come on how they're treating her and what's going on. But it just kind of, it really sucks to not be able to say for sure, oh, no, Ashley did ask Vince if she could take a shower. Oh no, the shower was only 15 minutes long. Like, what are they talking about? Like, we just don't have any concrete facts to back this up, and so we don't know, like, who was out of line. Is the group overreacting, or is Ashley, like, did she actually, act in a disrespectful way that night? Like, it's just, it really kind of, it shows exactly why this is a problem that we're not getting feeds for 5 days. So
Yeah, for sure. And also, I want to root for Ashley. So it's then like,
I
okay,
know,
like,
and that's the thing. Like, yeah, she was so incredibly likable. I think like everybody's first draft picked.
yeah.
So I mean, it really sucks to kind of see her just kind of potentially go out in this way. Who knows? But I would say as of right now, there's good potential for her to go home if she doesn't win the veto or if nothing major happens that changes that. But yeah, no, I really like Ashley, but no, I don't love the way that she handled this necessarily, which we'll get into. But yeah, it's sad, but also fun drama.
Yeah, I know. The shower gate of it all. It's still entertaining to witness, but also kind of sad because we like Ashley.
Yeah.
Uh, but then we also have Vince and Jimmy talk, and they bond. They have a bond because Jimmy picked him to play in the HOH comp, so they know that he won't choose him to go up on the block for this week. But then they consider targeting Zay because they want to break up a potential all guys alliance of all the strong guys going to the gym and working out and trying to start that just big competition threat kind of wave, it seems like. So I think this is, I guess, a smart move. But I don't know. We haven't seen too much from Zay yet, so I don't really know why he would be that big of a threat. But
I mean, I'm all for breaking up a potential all guys alliance because
yeah.
it does form almost every season. You see these strong guys that are just like, oh, we need each other to be here because if, only one of us is here, the fewer of us that are here, like the bigger the spotlight is on the one that's still there versus if all of us are here, then, they can't get us all out. So I understand why it forms often, but I think it is smart to try to break that up and you know, lessen their numbers before they really become too strong to be able uh, to to get out. So, yeah, I think that this is a smart move, and I'm happy to see it because I don't like all guys alliances. I don't know that many viewers do.
Yeah, for sure. And then we also see Kelly and Vince bond, but then she offers herself to be nominated. And so that could be a way for their alliance to be kept a secret, but not a good move for Kelly to say that because you want to be safe. So why are you nominating yourself to be a pawn?
My God, Kelly, just get out of the house. I don't I you're a very very nice person. I'm sure, Kelly. Anyone who's voluntarily nominating themselves week 1, I don't want you in this game. Like you're the most annoying. You don't care about winning. Like just okay. Like I hope you had fun. No, we don't need you here anymore.
But it seemed like it came out of strategy too, though, because then she wanted to still work with Vince, but then kind of keep it
But she
secret.
won't be in the house. How can you work
Well,
with
she
someone when
wouldn't be
you're outside of
voted
the
out.
house?
Or she wouldn't think she would be voted out, at least.
Look, any time you are nominated, you have the potential. Pawns go home. That is a
Yeah.
famous Big Brother saying. Pawns go home. Kelly can think that she's not. There's no reason why anyone would want her out. But when you are on that block and you are an option, you have a good chance of things flipping and you going home just because you're the only other option when everybody else changes their mind and decide that they want to keep the person who they were originally targeting.
Yeah, very true. So we'll have to see what happens after. I mean, obviously she's not nominated right now, but we'll see what happens later on in the season. But also then everyone has one-on-one meetings with Vince, and Ashley's name came up just because of her having the shower drama of it all. And then it made Vince think, okay, maybe people don't trust, or so they don't think that if Ashley trusts him, then he can't trust her. So then that was a good
Yeah, because she kept
conversation.
coming up to the room. Like she was
Yeah.
having conversations with other people, and Ashley just kept coming up to want to talk to him.
Oh,
And he had, was having meetings with other people. And I guess every HOH does it differently, but I guess he was kind of, having an order that he wanted to go in, and she kept trying to cut the line and come in. And to him, that was kind of seeming a little bit desperate. Like she didn't trust that he was wasn't going to be swayed or was going to potentially nominate her. And so I guess to him, that was like, well, if she doesn't trust that I am going to have her back, then maybe I can't trust her. Like, and I get that. I do. But she was right not to trust him, was the thing, is that he was considering nominating her, even though they had that deal. So, like, how are you going to blame Ashley for being paranoid when her paranoia was founded?
yeah, I know. It's true. So that's why, like, it's good that she kept going. I mean, not good for her game that she kept going up and trying to talk to him, but it was that she was right and reading it correctly, that she should have
Yeah.
been worried.
Yeah, and I think that the problem is, okay, you're reading it correctly. Now what are you going to do about it? And I think that's where she messed up, was that I think that if she had just said like, okay, I think that I might be nominated here. How do I fix that? How do I seem like I am a good ally for him and somebody that he can trust? And I think that she just went about it the wrong way, where she just kind of got frantic and just showed that paranoia, where I think that she should have just waited for her turn to talk to him. Make sure that she talks to him, but wait your turn. Don't seem desperate, and then go up to him and show him that you're somebody who a good ally that he can trust, and just kind of show that with your words and your actions, and not seem like you're really really worried about it, because then yeah, he's going to be like, well, if she expects it, then might as well do it.
Yeah. That's kind of what happened after that. Because then during Amy's meeting with Vince, she defends Ashley and starts crying and saying that she doesn't even want to be in the house without her. So then that made Vince think that Amy will be mad at him anyways if he nominates Ashley. So he might as well just throw her up on the block with her. So that was, I mean, obviously we don't have too many people to put up here, but we don't want to see Amy up here or Ashley. So it was sad to see both of their names as nominees along with Zay. So when they have the nomination ceremony, it's Zay, Ashley, and Amy who are revealed, which we kind of knew that already from seeing those conversations that that was to be expected. But now that they're on the block for sure, we have to see what's going to happen in the veto.
Yeah, no, I'm sure none of this that we just talked about for the last 45 minutes, probably none of this matters anymore now that you've watched the feeds. Like, so much changes, and it's been almost a week now since any of this happened. So I'm sure all of this has changed, and we've had a veto competition played today, or yesterday, sorry. And, yeah, so I'm sure that a lot of new conversations have happened, new alliances formed, all that good stuff. So I will be very, very interested to see kind of where we are standing today and what is to come the rest of the week. Because I'm sure week one is always a doozy. Week one, there's always a lot going on. So I am excited to have Big Brother back.
Yes, me too. And even though sad that Love Island end, obviously very excited for more Big Brother. So we'll be covering this each week along with some other shows going on. Let's like Bachelor in Paradise is on right now, and
Love
also the new.
Island Beyond the Villa.
Yes, exactly. I'm excited to watch that as well. It is premiere today on Sunday. So there's lots of good TV out right now. So if you're feeling sad about Love Island, just turn on Big Brother. And
I'm
you
glad
can
they're
get
not overlapping though, because that's too
no.
much. I
Oh,
can't handle them overlapping for more than 1 week.
yeah. No, this was the perfect amount of time to
Yeah.
have an overlap. It was just 3 days, basically. So that was great. But thanks so much for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on social media at Let's Chat Reality. And we'll chat with y'all again next week.
Bye everyone.